lot of people are missing.
Oh, sorry,
Well.
Everything is in there. Ready?
3, 2,
Non. Odette, donc ça sera pas pour moi la traduction, ce sera pour Jacques qui a encore un peu de problème.
Ready for takeoff?
Okay, all the courageous people are still here. So I'm going to present briefly some projects in the theme that we chose, which was intermedia, intercity, new forms of migration, transcultures, or nomadic art, which is very much in the theme of this cloud. You have all the big words there. Thank you again to our friend Vitotas, artistic director of NIDA, who did this wonderful cloud. I am not going to present again Transcultures because we are here among professionals and we all know, I think we all know what we do more or less. But of course, when the project of Transculture is very much connected to these themes: migration, nomadism, transcultural, shareism. I like this word that we used yesterday at the VIA Pro presentation. New forms of intermedia, intercity art. Let's say intercity as an intercity train. We have in Belgium intercity train, I guess in France too. And how can we work between the cities and with the city and somehow beyond the cities or the real city that we live in for other kind of cities, which is maybe the real virtual global city, which is never real. I needed the internet too, so I'm a bit embarrassed. But anyway, I'm going to talk about, so as I said, 3 projects. Maybe the first project can be a new project for us, meaning that Transculture is now the new coordinator for the French-speaking community of Belgium of Pépinière Européenne pour Jeunes Artistes. It's a well-known international, even beyond Europe, European program for young artists, for mainly artistic residencies, which are coordinated by each country, by some structure in each country. And then we can exchange also residencies or co-productions or co-diffusions between us. And as Transculture was the new, for the French-speaking side of Belgium, coordinator, we started end of last year, and we decided Pépinière is usually very much visual art oriented, sometimes a bit more performing arts now, like dance, but very few digital media artists are welcomed by Pépinière so far, and very few sound artists. As we have this, we have 2 hats, let's say, which maybe have a link to, is the City Sonic Festival in September now, which can welcome between 50 and 80 projects. Last year welcome 80 projects in Mons of sound artists in a various, very large sense of the word sound artists. And Todor and Nora were there last year with a very interesting interactive installation, and other artists too. And then we have this other festival called Transnumérique, Trans-Digital in English, which is now a biennale, which next edition will be in April or May 2012. And it's also a very nomadic festival. T.R.A.C.E is nomadic within the same city, meaning between 5 and 10 locations in the city with site-specific installation environments and sometimes geolocative works that we had last year too, and also performances. And Transnumérique is nomadic between cities, so it's not in the city but between cities, and sometimes beyond, because it's transnumérique, like beyond somehow a certain idea, a strict idea of digital art, but also a certain idea of beyond a certain type of territory, but of course bridging territories too, and bridging structures artists, because the idea of Trans.make is that one artist can show an installation in one city, a performance in another one, and a lecture, for example, in the third cities, or a new project in the fourth cities in a different structure according to the link with our partner, and of course this site-specific question, which is to us very much at the beginning of every project that we produce or we present. So back to the European Pépinière for Young Artists. The first project we welcomed was a project by a young artist and curator called Ashley Wang. This is the brochure that we did. This is Ashley Wang. So she's partly Chinese, partly Canadian, living in London. Also, she has a master at the Goldsmiths University, as you are part of the Goldsmiths now, so she's almost a colleague. And it was interesting, the jury selected this work, first because we thought that somebody was really into sound art, but not only sound art, into making links between other structures was interesting, and her project was very much at the frontier between being a curator and being an artist, working on a certain type of territory, meaning Mons for 3 months, and at the same time working with other cities, other territories. So her project was called Resonant Cities, which I found out later is a title of a sound installation by Steve Rodden, but she was supposed not to know that. Otherwise, there is some copyright. And that's a nice city, it's a nice title. And the idea was to link structures and artists of various cities and organizations, non-profit organizations, mainly focusing on sound art, research like Media Lab, or more like us, production, diffusion of sound projects and digital projects, going to festivals. So it was Madrid, London, Brussels, Mons, it's at the center of the world, which of course we like very much for a change. And then Ghent, Seoul, Hong Kong, you know, okay, it's a nice trip. So the various location was in Brussels QO2, which is actually some kind of sound art lab, also welcoming artists in residency. I think Jody knows them quite well, and you were there. And then Madrid, it was Media Teletipos, which I didn't know before Ashley introduced us, which is a bunch of audiovisual activists. Then in Hong Kong you have Sound Pocket, which is it's really in the space they have is really like in a pocket. It's a very small space, but full of artists and full of artists in residency. So it's almost a project to stay there in this small space with the audience and to have a performance at the same time. And also Sound Media in Seoul, which is also a webzine, which is very interesting. And also they have sound pieces online. So they're very much about sound culture and the listening art, which I like this term. Also we had iPhone in Ghent, which is some kind of foundation focusing on art and audiovisual art. And this is a sound art gallery in London called Soundfjord, which is quite interesting, I think. The residencies was in a specific location, which was the frigo, the fridge. So this is the flexible space we are supposed to have during the whole year, but during March and April, the city of Mons decided that it was more useful for them to have some equipment stuck there instead of artists. So here we are. But anyway, it's a nice place. It's an ancient fridge of the slaughterhouse, so the site des abattoirs. But now it's not a cold space of death, but very vivid, warm space of art. So what we did with Ashley is we connected her with a young artist from Mons, and at the end of the project there were several aspects in her creation liaison, like creation as your liaison agent, je dis so création liaison, we said in French, which has several aspects. The first aspect was a series of video interviews, which was like a video lounge with all the directors and curators of those structures, with on certain topics of on art today and the difficulties to produce some art, to show some art, to have a critical view on some art too. The second part of her work, which was not an exhibition but something very hybrid, was field recordings of sounds that she recorded in every city connected. And then the third part was on internet, and it's too bad of course it's not there, but you can try later. She has a various website called Loudspeaker and Resonance cities also. And the third aspect was to ask some young artists, sound artists or visual artists, but doing sound in Mons. Sébastien Eric, Arnaud Eckert are students from the visual art of school in Mons. Cédric Sabato is also a multimedia artist, but he used to be part of the student at the school too of visual art. And Julien Poitvin, also ex-student and now part of the Sound Laboratory in Nantes, Apo 33, April 33, which is quite active, an activist with sound. So those performers did a performance only with the sounds and the recording, the field recordings that Ashley and the other structure sent on the web from all the other connected cities. So it was a very mobile, nomadic form. I don't know if it was an exhibition. I don't think it was an exhibition. It wasn't only a performance. It wasn't only a documentation. So it was something else. And it wasn't really the work of an artist. It wasn't also only the work of a curator, because we had her also with the curating, with her connection. We had her to connect with the artist. But she did work a lot to connect everybody and to connect this documentary creation, sound creation, and also to work on this kind of hybrid presentation. So I think it's a good example with some real difficulties, because Pépinière for young artists, they were happy at the end because they thought it was a good experience, because it was a good example of questioning, how to question what is an artist's residence today. It's not only to work on a certain territory with a certain amount of money, with a technician or technique. It's also to make link with this territory, with the techniques, with the technology, and to document it. And it's only one step. It's not this residency give birth to this work, but now it's an ongoing project. We're going to make a CD with her, with other sound pieces by other artists, with other structures, other cities. So it's an ongoing project. It's beyond Transcultures and the Pépinière too, which I think is very nice for her. And I was told that she had other residencies after us, so it can be a lifelong residency for her, which maybe it's a new job because of course she's paid for that, and then she can do her research work because she's a researcher also. So it's a nice mix with some very concrete questions. I was quite happy with this kind of experience. At the same time, I asked myself a lot of questions around and about the validity of what we show. Do we have to show that? How can we show that to respect the work? How can we get the audience to be involved? How can the performers be recognized also as co-creator and not only use, etc., etc., etc. So it was an interesting experience. So I hope that we're going to go on with such risky, because it's risky adventures with a young pépinière for young artists. Cédric Sabato, by the way, is doing very, sometimes very funny things. That's just an example of a work we show in, because we're talking about resistance. I like this image because it's all those, you know, this Chinese cat, I forgot the name, but there's a special name, Makamudi or something like that. And it was a sound demonstration against the crisis, global crisis. And each Chinese cat has a different language and demonstrates in a different language, so it's a chaos of demonstrations. And it's very nomadic because he can make a performance with that in the city or between installation. So we did that in certain festivals. Sometimes the other artists don't like it because the cats are too delirious or too noisy, but I think it's a nice example of a certain kind of funny, resisting way to present that. So, what else? I guess you all know what Mu is doing, you know? Maybe you know already Collectif Mu in Paris. We also, of course, Anne, you know them well. And I was talking, but it's difficult to talk about it without the internet. Actually, it's a collective of mainly sound artists coming originally from the Frénois, which is a nice, very high standard post-school, I would say, for media art, interdisciplinary art and cinema in the north of France. And we welcome them many times. And they work on this idea of interactive soundscapes, and they worked a lot. They have this project called Sound Delta and Sound Drop. One of their projects started in Mons, and they worked with many cities. They had a boat here, and then travel. It was a European project also. They travel through the Danube and Rhine. Yeah, right. How do you pronounce it? And then they had, on each stop was a residency. On each city, the sound artist did performances, installations, and then came back to the boat, traveled again, meet other artists in different cities. I think they have also a web radio project or something. And they recorded many sounds, they used those sounds, retweet them. I think Johnny also was part of the... Again,
I was on the boat, yes!
Again,
and we stopped in Linz at Ars Electronica when
yes.
Yeah,
It's funny because I was in Linz, but I knew you were there, but I didn't have the time to visit the boat, but I saw the boat, the good vibrations were there, of course. And so it's another example of a very nomadic European project, and the project was really conceived from the very beginning. So I think it's a good example of an artistic project which has the support of the European Commission, and that couldn't exist without this trans-European view from the very beginning and all those connections between artists and cities. We also welcome them in Mons another time with this sound drop thing, which actually you have a guide like in the museum, you know, audio guide, yes. And then they were traveling in Mons with the audio guide, and when you have some sign with a number, you push on the number, and then you have a sound piece especially made with sounds of this area of the city, or connecting with other cities too, and it's a very nomadic, inter-city, migrative sound art. Interesting, I think. More technically, they evolve and they develop other technology, also with REMU, which is a research laboratory, and I think they work also with Orange in France. And then also in Mons, we develop, actually we work with them in Tunis and in Mons. And in Tunis it was also for a European program called E.FEST, because there is this festival Éco Sonore de Tunis, E for European, so it was European Sound Echoes Festival of Tunis. It was a festival and the European project we did together with Tunisian and French friends last year. And they were connecting sounds between Tunis and Mons in Mons. And in Tunis they were connecting sites like a walk around Carthage, which was really wonderful, with a GPS and special headphones, and you can walk around Carthage, and then you don't need the audio guide anymore. There is a sound piece when you arrive to a certain area, and it was quite poetic. And in Mons, in the Grand Place, you were traveling from the sound of a cathedral to the sound of a mosque, which was quite funny. It was so funny to see other people with strange headphones working in the cities. So that was the MU group, which I think is very much in the topic we're talking about. Another work that we saw, actually we saw some of their work yesterday, is Transcultures. It's a totally different kind of artist, also a young artist. A mix of architecture. It's led by one architect and one choreographer dancer. Transcultures, and their whole work is based on this concept of transit. So being in between space, in between disciplines. 2 minutes? 10 minutes? 5 minutes? Okay, 9. And the first work we produce with Transcultures, again a very young artist, is called Insert Coin. It's a performance for 3 performers. Very nice ladies, by the way, so attractive. And they are behind a window. Yes, it can be important to be attractive, to attract the audience. It can be part of the artistic strategy too, not only a pleasure. And each of these young women is like an instrument, an interactive instrument. The idea is a bit like, it's a bit like a peep show actually, you know. And this is the device. So you have the window, and then you can activate like a remote control, very simple. And the performer is doing some sequence, especially for you, so it's a one-to-one work. She can sing, she can dance, she can talk to you, and you can hear with your headphones, but you cannot talk to her. So it's very funny, because I saw we produced that in many cities, and I saw some people were trying to write on the paper and say, "I love you, can we meet later? You're so sexy. Please stop talking to me."
No man in the window.
Huh? No man at the window. But the way they were talking to men was interesting, because it was quite ambiguous, and actually...
Inside the window.
No, but later they used men. But at the beginning it was a ladies' project, and the way they were talking, it wasn't like the usual sexy thing, it was something more ambiguous. And they used also some fragments of text on the body by Artaud and other well-known writers, and then they wrote themselves text at the end, which was somehow a very interesting vision on this idea of peeping Tom, like voyeurism in French, voyeurism, and because people, of course, are some kind of voyeur, because they're behind the window, and then you have another group of people working, seeing some voyeur looking at women behind the window, so they stop, they look at those people, and then you have different layers of voyeur like that, and they use that too in the text, the way their text is interesting and quite ambiguous. So each spectator is a player, and each performer is an instrument. Actually, the instrument has always the control, because sometimes they like the voyeur, or the viewer, he cannot interact anymore. Something is wrong with the remote control, and then he's beginning like crazy, and actually they are more taking control of the voyeur, which I like too. So this is some what was happening behind one window, the butcher, the apartment, the office, some voyeur, and the device was called Insert Coin. We started that in a festival called the Net Days in 2004 in Brussels. Another work they have too, there was the previous work before the one you saw yesterday, most of you saw yesterday via Pro, which is called Urban Distortions. This one is called Chambre d'Hôtel, Hotel Rooms, like a fiction reality in the urban space. And this is 3 performers, one maid, one boxer, and one call girl. And there is a man, half naked too. And they are in some kind of caravan. They dance. They are filmed also on a blue screen, so they use images outside and they use also images through the internet. Again, the spectator has headphones only. So and on the side of the caravan, you have some immigrants, and there are real immigrant people with real problems that they ask to come and to tell their story if they want to, and the story is usually quite hard. It's the way they are welcomed in Europe once you come from Africa without paper and you don't know anything about Europe. And so people are listening to that, and at the same time there's some kind of fiction, a dance fiction between the performers in the caravan. Here you are. So it says sound as double perception, music and testimony, immersion of the viewer in a hybrid architecture. That was also in Nuit Blanche, one night in Paris. We did that in front of Centre Pompidou with a lot of success, because again it's based on this idea of voyeurism somehow, but in a very critical way too. This is the caravan, the device. Okay, so the last thing, 1 minute. I just wanted to some music, and it's actually we did. I was talking about Tunis, so it's a tribute to our Tunisian friends, because we did this project T.R.A.C.E.S just before. Actually, it ended before what is called the revolution now. So it was some months ago, and it was a European project. And at the end of the project, we did a compilation called ESMA. It's a Tunisian word. ESMA, it means to listen in Tunisia. And the idea was that there's a series of field recordings made in Tunisia by this French artist, Amérique de Tapol. They went there in Tunis with us. And Tunisian artists and international sound artists could download these sounds and made a new piece with them. And it was shown as an installation in the City Sonic. It was shown also in Tunis, like in a lounge, sound lounge. And we had to cut some of these field recordings, because one of these field recordings was a policeman saying to the artist, "I don't want you to record my voice." And as he didn't know Arabic, he thought it was nice the way he was talking to him, and then the Tunisian asked him, "No, you can leave this sentence because we're going to be anyway. We can have some problems with the police." So it's even the voice is not always free. So some some sounds, some field recordings here. Those radio frequencies in Tunis. And then there were hours and hours of field recordings. This is DJ Elephant Power from Brussels. So it's like some kind of hip hop with field recordings. Stéphane Kozik, our technician, which is also part of Landscape. He's a young sound artist, totally different treatments. database of Tunisian publishers. So it's called ESPA. It's on the independent French label called Tsukubushi. I don't have. I can't give it to you because I only have a few records, but it's worth buying it. It's only 10 euros later on the web for the independent sound art and music. So that's the muezzin of Tunis. So that's the kind of CD we like to do too, because again, I think from this intercity and the links between the artists, the links between the original sound, the treatment, it becomes a piece which is quite hybrid, but I guess has some also validity in the links that are made between the artists and the different treatments. Thank you.